Hello. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the last ever Tuesday Night Live here in the Hunting Block with me, of course, your host, EJWAY. I'm excited about tonight's show. It is the last one, unfortunately. It's been a pleasure. It's been a ride. It's been just fantastic. All the different guests that we've had throughout the whole year. It has been amazing. Tonight's show is just a reflection on all of those guests, the different topics, the value that was gained from the things that we spoke about. And I have some very, very special guests that have been with me throughout the year. In one way, shape or form, you have seen them before. And they've come back to celebrate with me, because tonight really is just a celebration, reflection, just on how things have been. And I'm going to start off by introducing the first guest. And believe it or not, this person is the person who was the first ever Tuesday Night Live guest. They were the first ever guest. Do you know who it is? Can you think of who it is? Do you remember who it was? Anybody who is watching for the beginning of the year, it is none other than Mr. Ronaldo Lawrence. How
Hello,
are you, sir?
I'm extremely well, thank you. Blessed and happy to be here with you.
Fantastic. I'm so glad to have you. And if you remember back in January, it was the 7th of January, sir. You were the very first.
Wow.
And it was the topic of how to stick to your New York resolutions. No, not really. How to stick to your New Year's resolution. Right?
Wow.
So you remember that show very well, yes?
I remember very well, extremely well.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because especially right now in November, most people will be thinking, okay, what were my New Year's resolutions?
Yep.
What were those things I said? And quite naturally, with the year that we've had, a lot of people would have had to change their plans somewhere along the way, in some way, shape, or form, but
Without a doubt.
hopefully for the better. What's your recollection of that show?
I just remember you starting out, and I remember you talking to me before, and that you were happy about doing the show. And I remember talking about how people, when they set New Year resolutions, that they don't last very long. And as soon as adversity hits sometime, then they forget what they promised to themselves that they were going to do. And I remember us discussing that a lot of times the issue is that people try to set too high of a goal instead of setting something that's a little more realistic, that they know that they can accomplish. Because the one thing about life, man, it will slap you in the face and wait to see whether you can get up, you know? So I remember us talking about that and trying to set reasonable and sensible goals.
Excellent. Listen, Ronaldo, it's fantastic to have you on the show. I'm going to be hearing from you throughout the show. I'll bring you back in just a moment. Now, I'm going to introduce today's guest. Everybody say bye to Ronaldo for now. That was the first ever show. But who was the second guest I ever had? Well, the second guest I ever had is somebody who you are familiar with. He's returned for some of our roundtable discussions throughout the year, and that is none other than Mr. Paul Essien. How are you, sir? Welcome back to Tuesday Night Live.
Thanks for having me back. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Definitely good to see you. And the second show that we had was starting a business.
Oh, wow.
Now, do you remember coming on back in January?
No, I don't. I don't. But that's because I think we speak so much about the things that are passionate, between us.
Yeah.
And I think, we've had so many colorful conversations, so many conversations that have actually influenced my business life, your business life.
Yes.
So it sort of blurs as to what we've done on camera and what we've done on the phone or in person.
Now, that's very true. Now, for people who don't know, that we definitely do converse quite a lot. It mostly entails Paul just telling me what I probably already knew that I should do, but he tells me straight, and it's good. And then he probably learns inadvertently from the conversation somewhere, some of my responses.
100%. 100%.
Paul's a great guy, and starting a business, this man has started so many businesses. He's constantly iterating, changing, and growing. And I know that you've got more on the horizon as well. We're going to talk more about what's in the future for you, sir. But it's a privilege to have you on the show. It's great to be able to have you to reflect on the different guests that we've had this year. And it'll be good to have your thoughts on some of the topics that were covered. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring in all the other guests. Is that okay, people? Shall I just bring in everybody else? Let's bring back Ronaldo, Mr. Ronaldo Lawrence. Let's bring on none other than Mr. Paul Morrison. Mr. Paul Morrison, how are you? Yeah, let's give him
I'm extremely well.
Let's give him a round of applause.
Wow. So I'm extremely well. It's been an incredible day. But I just wanted to take this time just to say to you, Rosie, congratulations on a fantastic series. Every so often I try to listen to the various speakers. Some of them are so incredible. I try to listen to as many as I can. And I know that I've been a guest with some of these fabulous people on the call. But I actually learned so much just by this course. So fantastic. Congratulations.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Now, thank you so much for your kind words. For people watching, I'm going to be perfectly transparent. Somebody has asked a question in the private chat. And you won't know this, but they've asked, how come Mr. Paul Morrison gets a round of applause, but the other guests didn't? Well, I'll tell you straight. There's something that I could get from Mr. Paul Morrison by giving him a round of applause. So I'm expecting him to remember that I gave him this round of applause. So that when I ask him for this thing that I want from him, he's just going to say yes afterwards.
This is food.
You see? You
Is
see?
it the oxtail?
That's why. Okay. Don't be jealous. Don't jealous him. Don't jealous him. Okay. So let's bring on our final guest. And this is literally one of those last but not least, because I think that she may probably bring the audience retention for the show today. I think that, people who are watching may just stay the course because of my next guest. And that is the one and only Crystal McGilvery. Give her a round of applause. Yes. A round of applause. Thank you so much, Crystal. How are you, Crystal? How are you? Oh, I think we can't hear you. I'm not sure if you're muted.
I'll take it off mute. That might help.
There we go. That's always fantastic. Let's give a round of applause for that. Fantastic. How are you?
Yes, no, I said I'm happy. I'm good. I'm glad to be here amongst some lovely, amazing people. Yeah, excellent. I'm good.
Yes, you're in good company here tonight. You're in good company. We're just having a look at the different shows we had this year, and it's funny because I had a plan this year to do these live interviews, and then once a month do a live event. And the very first event that kicked off was first ever Grow Your Potential, and that was featuring Mr. Craig McAnuff, who is one half of the original Flavor duo. So the two brothers who cook Caribbean food. Naturally, we had Mr. Paul Essian. I'm not going to give him a round of applause. And we had Des Ame as well. We had Des Ame, and we had Robert Sadler as well. And that event was something. Paul, what do you remember from that event, if you remember it?
No, I remember it. It was at a nice location. It was a great turnout. Yeah, I remember meeting Craig, lovely guy. Yeah, it was great. It was a great event.
Yeah, it was good. It seems like so long ago.
It does.
The fact that we were able to actually meet physically.
Yeah.
Talking about it, it almost seems like it wasn't this year. It was this year.
Crazy.
It was actually this year.
Crazy.
Unbelievable. But yeah, soon after that we had from the workplace to your pace, and this is like my Forex family, Richard Darty, David Talbot, and Bryony Bender. They are people who were in the workplace and they transitioned to actually working on a trading floor, and it was just interesting to talk to them about that, managing that transition from like a solid stable income to kind of just almost winging it, not knowing what's going to happen next. Because naturally, of course, with trading, that's especially Forex markets, that's one of the most volatile. So even if you're on a trading floor, it doesn't always guarantee that you're going to be making the big bucks straight away. So that was an interesting conversation. I think, am I right in saying just about everyone here, maybe aside from possibly Ronaldo, has made that transition from a steady, solid income to doing a Del Boy?
But can I tell you, Ronaldo's extremely envious of you guys.
I did it. I quickly came back. No, so just in terms of my story, I mean, I moved from Microsoft in July. I think the 4th when I left Microsoft. And yeah, it was during that time a lot happened, especially around COVID-19, and I don't want to go into that at the moment, but I use it as an opportunity to really start to look at what do I want to do. And you know, things are Forex trading, the stock exchange. I bought Zoom shares.
Now hold on, did you buy gold or did you already have gold at that point?
Ronaldo is not me.
No, definitely not me, because I'm not trading.
No. You, Paul. Did you have gold?
I bought gold as well.
You bought gold? Yeah, I thought so.
Yes, of course. And so I did. But you know, the thing about when you start work for yourself, and this is something that I think everyone needs to take into consideration, is at the end of the month, you don't get paid unless you bring in business. And so what I would recommend anyone to do is when they are going into business to really focus on, you know, can you survive without money at the start of what you're looking to do? And where will your funds come from? So I was being quite fortunate because I built up a little bit of, you know, collateral. So I was able to, you know, to go quite a long time without earning a salary. Now, Zoom has obviously knocked on my door, and that's, you know, if I can come and work for them, and I, you know, accepted that.
Sorry, just exclamation mark there, people who are watching. Zoom knocked on his door. He said it very quickly. Very quickly. It was a small part of what he said, but that's literally what happened. He was at home minding his own business, and they came to him.
Yeah. By the way, they put me through my, you know, they did put me through my paces. There was quite a lengthy interview process, but what I did, and what I also would recommend for everyone to do, is the reason why I chose Zoom, Zoom chose me, was because of that values. We share a similar value, and most companies you do work for, you tend to log on, log off. You go in, you become your true self, and then as soon as you go home, you switch off from your company, and then you go and do all the other things, the extra curriculum activities. What Zoom are so in line with what I want to do. Today, I mean, for example, I was on a Zoom talk where they wanted to know about Black Talent UK. They wanted to know about what I do in the House of Law. They want to know some of the other things that I do, and they want to know how they can help me to push some of the agendas that I'm looking to do. So yeah,
on that point, because that's quite. We had Mark Martin, and that was that work after work session where we talk about you have your full-time job, but then you have other things you do. So you mentioned some of those other things you do. Usually in a workplace, you kind of have to hide those extracurricular activities. So you're saying that they actually asked about it in the hope of kind of supporting you. That's amazing. This is why I give you all the rounds of applause and stuff like that.
Keep giving me them.
This is what...
Can you see Etienne? He's not happy.
He's not. I plan to keep him that way until just before the very end, and then I might give him a half round of applause just before I log off. But I think just because those first few sessions we had, naturally, the first one was Ronaldo, the second one was Paul, then we had the event, and then after that we had, like I said, Richard Darty, David Talbot, and Bryony Bennett, 3 people in one session. Then we had Mark Martin, work after work. Then we had Nowhere to Invest, Robert Sadler. It's kind of helping. It's almost like I knew COVID was coming. It's almost like I knew it was coming, because look, what was the next topic? Business from home. Look at that. And this, I'll tell you when this was. When was this? Business from home. That was on the 18th of February. 18th of February. All right. So, yes, I knew before anybody knew. And I was preparing the audience for this. So they got value from these things. But just thinking about that in terms of, and anybody can talk on this, just in terms of investment, that whole kind of having something extra while you have a job. Ronaldo, you're like the king of this. You've got so many things you do outside of your day job. You know, just that whole concept of kind of having work after work, that work-life balance, if there is such a thing, you know, thinking about actually investments, and not just in the sense of money, but even personal investment as well.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on some of those topics?
Well, the first thing I would say is, I am more than what you see. That's the first thing I will say. I believe I was put on this planet for a lot of different reasons. And I believe that in one area of my life, it would be doing myself and everybody else on the planet who I know and who I hope to know, would be doing them an injustice if I didn't be the best person that I could be every single day. It is my job and it's my calling to trust in the things that I do, try to help as many people as I can. I just believe that I have so many gifts. And I think that the thing that hurts people a lot is they are scared to say that they got so many gifts, is that they run away from the gifts that they got instead of embracing the gifts. And I just think that all of us just have such an opportunity, man, this world, and with the internet, we have an opportunity to touch the world.
Yeah.
It used to be, you know, when I was growing up, it was that small block of the corner that you live. And now it's the world. And I think we are more alike than we are disalike, you know. And I just believe that, man, each one of us, I think we are very like-minded people, the majority of us. And I just think, man, I just got a lot to give, you know, like you guys. You guys got a lot to give. And I think the problem is when you pigeonhole yourself into one sort of place, then you don't see your whole life, you know. And
It's true. I think that, I don't know, Chris, I want to bring you in on this because you've done some kind of varied things, right? So you, I mean, tell us about some of your experience, because you've not just kind of stayed in one job at one place, etc. How have you kind of approached this whole being more than what people see and just kind of bringing your potential out there?
Yeah, it's funny. Definitely, when you were talking, I was like, I have stuff to add here, definitely. So originally being an accountant, working 9 to 5, sitting behind an Excel spreadsheet. But pretty quickly, I knew that wasn't all that I could give to the world. I mean, I draw, I'm quite free with it, and I like connecting and helping people. So I think quite quickly, you know, I climbed the ladder, I got qualified, and you know what you do, because that's what I was told to do. And then I went traveling for a year and a half, and I realized actually I've got more to give, and I had amazing people around me, kind of pushing me to be all that I could be. So I quit my job in October 18, and I haven't gone back since. And now I've set up two businesses. I guess I could say 3, because I also coach. Yeah, and I think, you know, speaking of kind of off the back of what Ronaldo is saying, it is about, you know, understanding why you've been put on this earth, and it's to fulfill a purpose. And I think whenever I have any kind of doubt or restriction or fear, I literally imagine myself and think I'm a vessel. I'm here to give to the world and help other people. So I remember that, and I just continue pushing through and doing, you know, being the best that I could be in all areas. And I think, like, was it Ronaldo who said people are afraid of going to those limits and pushing yourselves, and when you do, you're often surprised as to how amazing it is, and then next time you do it even harder, and it just continues. So I think, yeah,
it's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing that. I think that quite often the limits, at each limit, there's usually some kind of form of pain. It's either physical or emotional or something, but it stretches you, and quite often we're faced with that, and it's either, do I push past this, or do I just stay within the, I don't like that pain, let me just stay within my comfort zone? And I think that, none other than the couple that are on the screen there, John and Nurse of Murray, that business from home, they have their own child mining company. And back in February, I spoke to them, I said, I want to help them to try and get on the right path. I know that, Paul, you've spoken to them, given them guidance, etc. And it's great. I'm so happy to report that they actually are in the process of having a place that is not in their house where they're going to be able to operate their business from in their local area. So they're taking that step closer towards having their nursery, which is the goal that they set out to have. They mentioned it on the show. So very, very happy to report that. I think come January, they're going to be starting this kind of transition period. Half will be in their home, half will be at another venue. So, all the best to them. Then after that show, we had Rough Road to Success, Des Ame. Now, Des Ame, he's another guy who's close with me. His story is quite crazy. What he endured when he was growing up. And what I find is some people, it's like they're fuel. They go through certain hardships. And you kind of see the success. And we know this from the autobiographies that we read, or biographies of people's lives, people who are famous, people who have, quote unquote, made it. And then when we read the story, we see the amount of hardships they went through. People want the final product, but again, in terms of pushing those boundaries, people don't often want to experience that type of fuel. I know, Paul, I don't want to get ahead. I know you've got, you plan to have a book coming out where you're talking about your story. I can't wait to hear about that. If I've jumped the gun, I'm not sorry. But what I will do is I'll give you a round of applause. There you go. But you also spoke in the show about little bits about your experience growing up and some of those difficulties. Is that really is that the prerequisite for everyone who's successful, that they have to have serious hardship? Or can it be that people just learn the lesson from others? Do you have to experience that?
Look, it's not a prerequisite, but I actually believe in almost a perverse way that having challenges and difficulties create resiliences, skills, endurances that are highly prized in the business world, in the corporate world. Whether it's poverty, even disability, living in difficult circumstances, they give you unique skills just by virtue of the fact that you make it through that. Personal trainers have something that they refer to as time under tension, where muscles get stronger the more that they're stressed and the longer that they're under tension. And so I think that's why so many successful people have had to overcome challenges. I don't think it's a prerequisite, but in what I do and the people that I work with and the people that are around me, I will take a damaged person or a person that has come from what is considered to be an unconventional background over someone that hasn't, all day, every day. Their culture is endurance. They are used to operating without safety net. They know that if they do not hunt, they will not eat. And I think that so many of us, some of the challenges that we're embarrassed about, some of the mistakes that we've made, what we don't realize is they actually have made us perfect for the world of business. They've made us more self-sufficient already. And the corporate world will kill for some of the skills that they just don't teach in universities or in workplaces. And so once you have the confidence to bring that out, or just even to jump out, you will be surprised at what you can get as to what price you can achieve for your skills and for your talents that, yes, may have come from misfortune, but nevertheless, you now have a fully equipped toolkit that, you can name your price for.
Can I just jump in? I totally agree with what Paul just said. And I think, we're in this social media age where you can look at people and you just see success. You look at Paul and you think, look at what he's doing. You look at, Des, and you look at various other people and you just see this almost like a screensaver. And so everybody wants what they see. So you spend a lot of time thinking, if I could just become like Paul, Ronaldo, Crystal, but actually behind the scenes, if you know what some people have had to go through to get to where they are, it's, you know, and I always remember this when I was very young, and I said to someone, when I grow up, I just want to be like you. And they turned around and they said to me, don't you ever say that, because if you know what I'm going through right now, to have what I have, you will never want to go through this. So I think you're totally right, Paul. You know, it's something that I think we probably need to be more transparent, and I can't wait to read your book, Paul, because I think that's where you get to know the real Paul, what he had to go through. You know, how did he get to where he is now? And I think that, yeah, that's my book, my thoughts.
But the truth is, I think, definitely for me, I think I still suffer from imposter syndrome because of some of the things that I've gone through. I think some of them are so grievous and so heinous that, you know, you're still, do you really want people to know? And I think depending on what you do now, maybe you overthink what people will think of that. But now that I'm in circles that maybe I wouldn't have been in before, and even at a corporate level, I realize that the people that and the corporations that I deal with now that I wouldn't have dreamt of dealing with before, they actually don't care. They prize the quality of what we can do and the solutions that we can provide, and therefore they appreciate the journey. They don't actually care that you came from this particular spot. They're just glad that you're at wherever you are in the journey. And so I think we need to almost give ourselves some forgiveness about where we come from and the mistakes that we've made, so that we can truly harness what we have picked up on these journeys. And as Crystal said, and as Ronaldo said, actually gift those to other people and share those to other people, and not be as squeamish about, well, you know, it was this at one time, or it was that.
Okay. So here's the thing. You made an analogy, Paul. So Ronaldo, I'll let you speak in a moment. But I think that when you kind of put it to that fitness training, you talk about holding muscle and tension. But when you think about the whole process of hypertrophy, right, that is the tearing down of the actin and myosin filaments within your muscle, so that when it builds up bigger and stronger. And most people, when they see bodybuilders, they just want the result. They don't think about the actual ripping and tearing that is going on in the muscles. Neither does the bodybuilder consider that ripping and tearing a mistake.
Yeah.
They don't think about it as a mistake, unless they've totally caused the hernia or something like that, you know. But to the most part, if they're doing sensible resistance according to their mass, they're going to be able to rip in a way that pain is cherished. That pain is cherished. I'll share a little personal anecdote here. All of a sudden, I don't know what happened or where it came from. I looked down, and there was a belly hanging off from my waist. I don't know where it came from. I never had one before in my life. I looked at it, that's funny. I just thought, let me leave it. It'll be fine. And then just recently, just last week, I turned 40. So as I was approaching my 40th birthday, I thought to myself, you know, I can't really keep this up. I need to get rid of it. But what I did was I put myself under some serious resistance in order to feel pain in that area. I wasn't happy if I did exercise and I didn't feel pain, because I knew that pain it meant that something is happening. And it's coming back. I can count the different segments. They're starting to reappear and reemerge. In a few months, it'll be back, but no one will ever know. I don't like these things being public. Some people put these things on Instagram. It's never going to happen for myself. But sorry, Ronaldo, go ahead.
No, you know, I wrote something. Paul was talking just now, and I wrote something down that says, most people are still wondering how they get where they got to. And what we fail to realize is that those people have the imposter syndrome also. And if you look at Becoming, which is Miss Obama, and one of the things that she says to those kids in the neighborhoods of Chicago, that a lot of those people have no idea how they got where they got. They just woke up one morning, and although they might have put in some work, they were privileged enough to know somebody who knew somebody who knows somebody. So again, to Paul's point, if you put in the work, then you earn what you get. then you're happy about being, and you can stay where you've gotten because you're not constantly worrying about somebody tearing you down because you've done the work and you know the path to get where you've gotten. And I think that's so important. I think what people fail to realize is that it is the struggles that make the man a woman. It is the struggles, and things don't come easy, man. But I tell you what, everything that I've had to work for, I so appreciate it now. And I just remember my mom saying to me, "You'll see, you'll see. You wait till you have your kids." Boy, I see. I see. I see. So, yeah.
Oh boy, thanks so much for that. I think it's so important to kind of know what you're getting into before you get into it. And some of those topics were the real setup, I think, just for kind of the things that were coming ahead. And then after that, in the year we had, and in fact, this is only, where are we up to? This is March. Can you imagine? This is still March. And mind your own social media business. How apt is that in terms of this year? Actually people starting social media business. That was Stephen and Sarah Steele. Congratulations to them as well. They've got a new addition to their family. They got their Kind Socks business operating from home. And we had From Idea to Reality with Lamri Salola, who's also a poet and presenter. And then we had Rolling with the Punches. And it's funny because some of those things we just spoke about, right? In terms of kind of taking something from that concept to its reality and actually just kind of embracing that painful process of growth. Yeah, very, very interesting. But that brought us to, when did that bring us to? That brought us to, the 10th of March. In fact, no, 17th of March. And then after that, on the 31st, we had the online event. I don't know if you guys remember that. And we had none other than, where's the poster here? Right here, Mr. Paul Carrick Brunson. He was on the live show and he joined me for a one-on-one interview. Oh my goodness, I learned so much from that interview. And then following that, we had, in fact, yes, we had Paul Essien was there, Crystal McGilvery was there. Paul Morrison, you were there? You weren't there? Ronaldo, you weren't there either. Were you there?
I wasn't so blessed to be as gifted.
You weren't there. Okay, who else was it? It was Des M.A. There were a few people. There were a lot of people. I can't even remember. Look at this. I need to find the poster for that event. But I think that really was like, I don't know, for me, when I'm talking to someone who has spoken to Oprah Winfrey and to Enver Ujil and to all of these other people and the fact that he's been a presenter on TV, etc., that was a real blessing for me, just to kind of, even the fact that he was on the show to actually learn, that really blew my mind. And if you watch that back, you'll see me freeze, because he said, "I came here to learn from you." And I was like, oh, I was like, I don't know what to say. I may have covered it up a bit better than that, but that was an excellent event, and that was supposed to have been another physical in-person event. I had to change that last minute to an online event. It was absolutely manic. Crystal, what do you recall from that show?
I think there were a few of us speaking, and I think just on what you were saying about him saying, Paul saying that he's here to learn from you, I think that's the mindset of being a forever student. So knowing that you're always learning and having that mindset, I think, is key. Otherwise, you're just limiting yourself away from development. And it's just a slight tangent. When I talk to people about finance, and they're like, "You know so much." I'm like, no, I'm open to knowing so much. So I think that gives you a whole different perspective. Remembering that show, I think that was my early days. And actually, I think you mentioned there was a talk about public speaking coming up, and I think that was my early days of public speaking, and that felt very clear. But no, it was great. There was some great speakers, very informative. Yeah, it was a good show.
It's funny you mentioned that about public speakers. Naturally, we had Kit Pang that came up on the 12th of May, and he gave so much practical wisdom. Anybody who does not know Kit Pang, first of all, you need to watch that show. That's number one. It's on the YouTube channel. Check it out. Number two, you need to go to his website, Boston Speaks, because the man is so prescribed when it comes to public speaking. Like, he will take someone who does not want to do public speaking, is not good, but does not want to, and he will give them the specifics to overcome all of that and be good, not just that they can finally do it and they're dripping with sweat, but they would actually pull it off. I think he should do like a reality TV show and like kind of get someone who's totally timid and put them through his thing. It's so powerful. But yeah, it's funny because Crystal, you're saying that. I'm quite sure that many people watching would never have thought that you had any kind of feeling about speaking in public.
Oh, it was. I can't even articulate. It was absolutely the worst. I think, as in everything, all the symptoms that you expect to have from someone who's afraid. Yeah, that's what existed. But like with what we're saying, going through those difficult times, experiencing those horrible feelings, and then you come out the other end and you're still alive, and it's fine. And you just do it again and again, and all of a sudden it's like it's fine. But then if you look back and compare yourself, you see the growth. And I think this is, going back to what you guys were saying earlier, I think it's all about reflection, self-awareness, and recording your wins. I think that's a big one. Writing down your successes so you can look back and be like, that's me. That all plays a part.
It definitely does.
In my experience, though, if I look back to when I first watched you on screen, Crystal, you were perfectly fine. So a lot of that.
There we go. There we go. Sorry. Because I needed external verification that I wasn't just blowing her up and just blowing smoke. Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
When you meet somebody and you know that they are a superstar. You know what I mean? Like the only person in the room that doesn't know it is them. Like, chip away for years.
Okay.
Paul has been in my ear for about 4 years, telling me to do stuff away from my employed role. He was like, "Do stuff. Go and do stuff." So thank you.
Yeah, Paul said, "Crystal, come here."
So you can.
That's what Paul said.
Look, I mean, Crystal has so many gifts, and I think one of the things she touched on when she was speaking about Paul Carrick-Brunson is that he's a ferocious student. Crystal, if you like this Crystal that we're speaking to tonight on Tuesday, if you bump into her on Friday, she will already be a different Crystal. She'll be a Crystal that she's learned something. She will, and not only learn it and be like, okay, that's interesting. She will apply it and then deploy it in her everyday life. It's intimidating, it's inspiring all at the same time. And I'm saying, I think these are some of the ingredients that successful people have. Some of it is learned, some of it is through necessity, but nevertheless, this willingness to pay the price for that learning, the discipline to actually make it a part of your life rather than just posting on social media that you read this book or you're going to do this thing, but the actual follow through, because it is painful, it is uncomfortable. I've had conversations with Crystal. Also, I've had conversations with you about, the unknown and putting ourselves at risk, in jeopardy, operating without safety net, not knowing what's happening on Friday, but having the confidence in what you're doing because you're paying the price to do it properly. Like, some of these things are priceless, and I think for the people watching at home, it's not always going to be the glamorous things that will get you there. It's some of these unspoken things and some of these unspoken prices that she's paid, that Crystal paid, that Paul Morrison has no doubt paid, that Ronaldo has paid. This is what gets you over there.
Yeah,
I think on that, it's understanding that your brain wants you to be safe and comfortable, right? It wants you to stay in that space. Oh, I know here. Yeah, I'm going to stay here. But if you, cognitive dissonance, if you imagine yourself over there, to get there is going to be uncomfortable because you're pushing outside of that box. But that's the only way to get there. There's no other route. And it is going to be uncomfortable.
I think that's the process whereby those people who have had the hardest story, the most difficult experience, they see over there a lot clearer than those people who have it comfortable, because they're used to comfortable, so they stay within comfortable. And that push that's needed to actually kind of grit your teeth, close your eyes, bear it, and go forward, isn't there as much until people go to that point where they experience that, and all of a sudden they're having to look over there and see it a lot clearer. Let me just race through some of these because, I missed out the fact that after that event, we had Stephen Steele back in for a solo interview, and then we had Steve Hill about online content, and we had Ronaldo back, and that was like a check-in. We had a mindset session, and then also we had Crystal McGilvery on. So, you talk about overcoming fear. You did that live event, and then you did a solo interview as well. So if you haven't watched that, you need to check it out because that was about minding your own money and thinking about money and just looking after it. And of course, we had none other than Emmanuel Asuko as well, who came in afterwards as a financial advisor. People may have seen him on the BBC recently. But, when it comes to, I don't know, just this whole, I want to start my thing, okay, and the financial side of it. There's always that element of risk that needs to be taken, right? Everybody will agree with that. How do you encourage people when to draw the line with their pragmatism, with their safety net, with whatever it is? I know, Krista, you probably do this all the time, right? So what's the thing? What do people need to know?
I think in terms of drawing the line, it's going to be relative to everybody, right? It depends on your circumstances. Some people, if you've got children, you've got to think of them. You can't just think of yourself. If you're a single person, you don't mind living on someone's sofa for a few months if you can. I think those kind of considerations need to be thought about and planned for. So like Morrison said earlier, when he quit his job, he had funds, or he was able to sustain himself for a significant amount of time before he went over to Zoom. So I think as long as you do that planning and know what your limits are, then you're fully equipped and you know when to stop and you know when to be like, okay, I need to do something. I need to pick up a side job, or I need to, and make those decisions. I don't think there's a number. It's just keeping it relative and being aware and on top of that. That's the main thing, as opposed to closing your eyes, burying your head in the sand, which people do when it comes to their money. I think you just have to.
Because look, money is scary. Those red letters are very real. People get all kinds of pressure when it comes to finance. It's easier not to look. It's easy to think short term. There's money here now, but what about later? It's very, very easy for people to, and the reason why I would say that is, I guess I'm speaking up for those people kind of who are in that position, right? So when you're not in that position, the pragmatism comes in, just face the facts, deal with the numbers, get your spreadsheet. But in the thick of it, you've got all kinds of baggage and emotions. Sometimes in a relationship, people are like, I told you so. I told you it would amount to nothing. I told you this, why did you take out why did you do that? And people have to overcome all of that before actually getting to grips with the reality of dealing with those finances. It's very intricate. I would love to go into it some more, but we'll run out of time. What I want to do, Ronaldo, I'll see your hand. I'll let you comment, but also, especially on this topic, because we had Deb Helfridge in, and she was talking about unlocking the real her. That was in May. Unlocking the real you, like this whole unlocking the potential within you. This resonates very much with what I do. I know, Ronaldo, you've read a whole book on, this theme of kind of realizing your potential. Just what are your thoughts in general about what do you think is the biggest sticking point for people actually unlocking their true potential?
Can I say one thing before I say that? But can I
so Ronaldo, I think you're muted, my friend.
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, can I just say that, when you think about money, if you want to be successful, it depends on what profession you want. You got to spend money to make money. I've jumped into the video field, and I can use an iPhone and be amateur, or I can get me a Canon DSLR and be professional. So you got to make choices of what you want to do. And I had to go into some debt in order to make choices for myself. So it really depends on how you want to balance your life and what you want to do. And I've come to the other side, but I knew what I wanted to do. So I think that's very important. So can you just say the question again for me, please? Because that was burning my...
What do you feel is like the biggest sticking point for people unlocking their true potential? Like that thing that's in them.
I think knowing what you want. I think knowing what you want. I think it's a few things. Number one, knowing what you want. Number two, using that thing that's called Google. And number three, visiting that thing that you call a library. I think those three things to me are the key to my life. Those three things are the thing that has helped taken me from not even knowing who I was or what I wanted to do to being able to do what I want to do. Because first of all, the internet, you can find anything that you want to know. The library, they got all kind of books. You learn how to search for things. And to me, it's just you do what you need to do to be successful. And that's why sometimes, man, when we're in school and we have these kids, very quickly, we have these kids, and people say, man, I tell you what, I don't know what's going to happen to that child when he gets out of school because he can't do this. Man, you know what? Those kids make it, man. Those kids make it because when they get into the real world, they know they have to make it, so they make it. So I don't ever say to a child, you're not going to make it because I know they got to live, they will find a way to make it. I had a boy, man, I said, looked at one time and I just thought to myself, man, that boy driving around here in a Mercedes. That boy, he fixes toilets, he does all that kind of, he's a plumber and all that kind of stuff. And that boy's got more money than I can ever hope to have. So I never will say to somebody they can't do something. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Mr. Essien.
Yeah, just to come in on something that Ronaldo was saying about knowing what you want. I think at the start of my journey, well, at the start of my most recent last chance, my most recent journey, maybe 2014, and I was flat on my face with children, with mortgage payments in arrears, and I downloaded, a book, an audio book by Timothy Ferris called The 4 Hour Work Week.
Yep.
And this book changed my life, if I'm honest. And maybe not in the way it's supposed to, but just in terms of how, exactly what Ronaldo was saying about what you want. And basically at the start of the book, it says, basically list what you want, right? And it can be I read back my list. I still have my list in these 3 books. I've shown you 3 books before. And some of it is embarrassing, but it was at a time where I could not put petrol in my car, right? It was that bad. And so on a goal list, at 31, to have being able to put petrol in your car is embarrassing, right? To have being able to make sure that, I was at the time, and so I had a joint residency order for my children, being able to every month pay the amount of support to their mother's household that I wanted to, being able to know that I could pay my mortgage consistently. These were the things on my goals. And then I had other goals like a certain type of car because I had a beat up Volvo, and and then in the book it said, okay, well, break down how much that costs. So let's say if you want an Aston Martin and it costs £1,500 to lease it, okay, keep that there. What is it that you want to do? So let's say you want to sell T-shirts. Okay, how many T-shirts do you need to sell to be able to pay your mortgage? How many T-shirts do you need to sell to be able to pay maintenance? And I was able to literally isolate and break down and itemize, what I want and what do I have to do? How many times do I have to do it to get what I want? And I know it seems basic, and that makes me so natural to people, but it just changed everything. Because then with what I was doing, it was so uncomfortable. It was so horrible and almost embarrassing each time to do it at first. But then I'd be doing it because it was like, well, if I do this 10 times today, I'm covered for the month, right? If I do it 30 times, well, and I can go and you can tell me no, you can swear at me, you can throw it. I don't mind. I'll go to the next thing because I know that it takes me a step closer to ticking the mortgage off, or ticking off support my children, or ticking off private school payments, or ticking off savings. And it said, I know I've ranted now, but what Ronaldo was saying is, find out who you are, yes, but what do you want? And let it be embarrassing, let it be materialistic, let it be a holiday, let it be whatever, but find out what you want, how much does it cost, how long will it take you to get it, and then go and get it.
That book changed my life too, man. That was one of the first books.
That's for Mr. Essien. He got one. He got a round of applause. Well done.
Just on that, I just want to pick up on what you just said, just for a quick second. I think you saying, for people to say what they want and be very clear about that. I think it sounds so simple, and obviously we've done it here, but I think that's a big point. And I say this because one of my coaching clients just a couple of weeks ago, our first session is basically goals, habits, mindset, all that stuff. And I said to her, what do you want? Like, what's your goal? What are you trying to get to? And she was so uncomfortable saying it. She was like, oh, I can't say it. And I had to tell her what mine are to make her feel comfortable. And then she said it ever so timidly. And then I pushed, say it proud, write it down, stick it on your wall. And then all of a sudden at the end of our coaching, she's confident with it. And her life has changed because now she can do exactly what you said, Paul. She's looking at her life, what she's doing right now. Actually, that's not supporting what I want. And I want that. So she's now changing what she does. And so it sounds simple, but it's so powerful.
Mm. Oh, goodness me. The wisdom that's being poured out. I love it. We had so many guests throughout the year. I'm just going to flash up a few more images because after Deb, we had Chris Cooper, spoke about procrastination. We had Rodney Hines from The Voice newspaper, and we were talking about making an impact because he's set up all kinds of things and overcame all sorts of barriers in his work. And then we had Know Your Niche and Grow Your Brand with Afrocentrics, one half of the Afrocentrics duo, that is Rachel Corson. And we had Ken Okorafor talking about growing your money. And my goodness, the guest list went on. We had Ryan Jackson with Successful Mindset, Words Taylor from the US, Take Action Now. There were so many different things that we spoke about throughout the year, and that's just part of them. We also had Joyce Oyedele, Steps to Success. She's an author. We had Creative Entrepreneurship with Ron Foster. And we also had the founder of the BYP Network, Expanding Your Network, Kike Oniwinde. My goodness. When you think about it, really, I mean, this is my show, but really the content of these people, these guests, the things that were spoken about, if one was to watch these shows and kind of just digest and take even one point, one practical step from each one, I'm quite sure somebody could actually have gone from that thought process to actually establishing what it is that they're trying to do. Because a lot of the discussion was around helping people to take action. And the sad thing I see is, Paul was mentioning about Crystal. If you see her in a few days' time, she would have grown. The sad thing I see in the majority of people is that lack of growth, that lack of actually, I'm going to take this idea and do something with it. Now, Paul Essian, we've had discussion. The fact is, he knows me. I have more ideas than is humanly possible to execute within the space of 24 hours. Naturally, there's a certain time where you have to put a stop to it. Now, I'm going to mute you. You're not allowed to respond to this. But the fact is, on average, most people don't actually do the first thing. So I'm talking over you. Most people don't actually do the first thing. And I'm going to give myself a round of applause. So,
I'm sorry, guys. I have to talk over the host. Listen, the truth is, OT, what you're talking about, and I'm going to come to you in a minute, but what you're talking about really is part of it is a cultural issue for us. No matter where we've come from or whether our heritage has always been the United Kingdom, there's a British mindset about things, right? And putting yourself out there or being overtly entrepreneurial, there's something that's almost disdained in our society, because then at some point you're reaching out to people, there's self-promotion involved, and that's not very British, right? And then also, especially if you're from an immigrant background, clinging on to education or 9 to 5, it has been ingrained in us. It's our cultural legacy. It's what we're supposed to do. So it's very alien to say, I can have an idea, breathe life into it, put flesh on those bones, and set it out to go into the world. It's an alien structure. It's an alien concept. When you see a lack of people going forward with things, I don't think it can be attributed to just one thing. For some people, it may be procrastination. For some people, it may be doubt. For some people, it may be fear. For some people, it may be finances. And although maybe not everyone can get there to invest. It could be whatever it is, right? But what I'm saying is, fundamentally, there's a cultural issue, but it will still come back to the point that Ronaldo raised before. If you identify who you are, what you want, where you want to go, and also if it is so painful where you are now, I still think it will be easier for you to take that leap. And I think for many of us, if we're getting that wave, it's such a safety net that it feels very dangerous and very foreign to come out of that safety net and reach for something else, because it is a massive culture. You OC, you're a problem.
No, sorry, we run out of time now. Hold on a second. Get my lightsaber out.
I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
Hope has ideas that could change industries, that could improve so many people's lives. There's so many things I speak to him about, and I'm like, okay, and it's so bad now, obviously, I'm just going to start stealing them. And I'll just be honest with you, because they're not, like, if you're not going to do them, then I'm going to do them. It's not worth it. You know, Crystal, I warned you about this a few years ago, and it's lucky now that we're embarking on it, because I said to you, no joke, 2016, 17, she had an idea, and I'm like, this needs to be an app. We need to do it. Like, we have to do it. 2017, traveled around the world and back or whatever, and now we're doing it. But I'm just saying, obviously, I'm not playing. Some of the things, and I don't want to hear, you can see me in court if you want, but my legal.
So, I'm going to put Paul Essien on mute, okay? Now, the thing is, he means very well, but this is my show. And this kind of reminds me of Paul Essien's favorite movie, Please Hammer, Don't Hurt 'Em, where Reverend Precious says, this is not the MC Hammer show, this is the Reverend Precious show. So, yes, I'll keep him on mute for a minute until he cools down. Keep him on mute. But then after that, we had, well, what else did we have? We had so many guests here. We had Ola Otaiku, and we're talking about entrepreneurship, being an entrepreneur while you're in the workplace. We had Dr. Rashada Harry talking about realizing your vision. We had Claudine Adeyemi, who's an ex-lawyer. In fact, she's still doing law, talking about your career potential. She obviously founded Career Ear. And we had, of course, the first interview with Teresa Royal Brown about the power of events. Then we had Natalie Louise Brown talking about fulfilling your dreams. Then we had Teresa Royal Brown back talking about overcoming fear. My goodness, that was a lot. I will unmute Paul. He looks like he's calmed down a little. No, he's shaking his head. No, leave him mute. I'll unmute him. This is the power that I have in this console. It's wonderful. I love it. And my lightsaber. I love it. People are laughing, so it's wonderful. I'll just stop and say that we got some appreciation here from the guests. Wow, the guests are dropping so many nuggets, and MDs may have to shut down. Brilliant. And another one from the same person. Thanks, guys. All your advice, experiences, and pointers have really impacted my mindset. Well, you are very, very welcome. You're very welcome. And this is the aim. This is the aim, just to help people to be able to develop their mindset, to be able to grow. And, some of these shows that we had, it literally is just the case to go back and watch them. Because, in recent weeks, we had none other than Emmanuel Waldron talking about from practice to pro. He, of course, is the pianist who played for the Kingdom Choir at the Royal Wedding. He's played for royalty in this country and in other countries. He's played for the likes, oh goodness, I won't even list all the different people he shared a stage with. And then we had Daryl Harper talking about minding your money. And then last week we had the entrepreneur, Mr. Julian Hall, talking about going ultra. Because a lot of people don't know about entrepreneurship and ultrapreneurship. An entrepreneur is someone who has just like, I guess you could say, a serial entrepreneur on steroids, I guess. That's someone who is really just maximizing all of their various entrepreneur endeavors. And then entrepreneurship is someone who actually hasn't left the workplace, but they have that entrepreneurial mindset, and they're actually doing things that are innovative, that are risk-taking within the workplace. I think, Ronaldo, you're somewhat of an entrepreneur as well, because of the things that you do within your school setting. That really is like, it's paved the way for you speaking at events in Dubai, like in the Middle East, you know, and different places in America as well as the UK. But just looking at all of these, and we're coming to a close. I just want your final thoughts overall when it comes to whether it's finances, procrastination, having the right mindset, thinking about practical steps. What do you feel like is a key takeaway that people must remember when we're going into 2021 and we're thinking, right, next year is going to be different, we're hoping it will be pandemic free? What do you feel is like one of the most important things people should kind of reflect on when it comes to all of these different topics?
I got two.
Go ahead, Ronaldo.
One, I could die tomorrow, and what a wasted life it would be. What a wasted life it would be. Two, I had it written down here. It is my job to be a light in darkness. Everybody on this planet has an opportunity to be light in darkness. Regardless of how bad you got it, somebody else has it a little worse. It is not my job to put how I feel and my darkness on you when all you've said is hello, good morning to me. It is not my job. It is my job to try to make everybody I come in contact with feel great about themselves. That's how I see my world. And I think if you get up in the morning and you try to be positive, and one thing, man, and I'll say this and then I'll shut up. One of the things I've been doing for the last 5 years is every night I go to bed, I write down 3 things that I've done the previous day that has been amazing to me. And the first thing I read in the morning is those 3 things. So my day is automatically started off on a high. So the rest of my day can't go in, it can't go bad. And doing that has led me to believe that I don't have bad days. I just have days that are not as great as the other day. I don't have bad days. But somebody else has a much worse day than I can ever believe. There are people who can't eat. So be aware of what you're thinking. Be aware of what your mind is saying to you. Be aware of where your focus is. And Paul, Mr. Essen, I'm so glad you brought up that book again, man, because I forgot about that book. And I have that book on my iPhone, and tomorrow morning I start listening to that book again. That book is a revolutionary book. It really is. So thank you so much. You have changed my life again tonight, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Essien, we have a request here saying, please can you repeat the name of the book that you mentioned earlier?
Yes, it's called The 4-Hour Work Week. 4-Hour Work Week. The author is called Timothy Ferris. Ferris. He's written a few other great books, but this book, if I was going to pick a book, and you're at a stage in your life where you want to make a change, but you're struggling to literally put the building blocks in place, because there are so many things that are aspirational, there are so many hypothetical things, but just practical book to start today, even if you have 0. The 4-Hour Work Week is the book to pick up, to download, to steal, to do whatever you need to do to get it. It's essential.
Fantastic, thank you. And now, Crystal, I know that you probably have to shoot off, right? So I'll let you have your say, and feel free to jump off if you need to. We're going to ride this out for a couple of minutes longer. But what are your final thoughts that you want to leave with us?
I think my main thing, and the one that really turned it around for me and helped me really get in line with who I am, what I want to give to the world, is maybe try imagining yourself as a vessel. So knowing that you can and will inspire people when you're living in your truth and your purpose. And I say that because then that leads on for you to take responsibility to be all that you can be and push those limits. Be brave and trust the process. Being told, and same with Paul Essien, obviously we work together, and he inspires me, and I'm sure he inspires loads of other people. I hear that I inspire people, and I don't mean to. I'm just trying to do what I can do to the best that I can do it. So I say that to everybody else. Just be brave and push past those boundaries, and you'll just surprise yourself, I'm sure.
Fantastic. Well, listen, Crystal, thank you so much for joining us. I know you have to jump off, so I don't know you keep you here any longer. Everybody say goodbye to
It was
Crystal.
nice meeting you.
There's a lot of love coming from social media, so thank you so much, Crystal. Take
Lovely.
care.
Take care.
I'm
See you
going to
later,
follow
guys.
you tonight. I'm going
Yes,
to follow
do
you
it.
tonight.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. And if you want to follow Crystal, remember to follow at Money Monday. At Money Monday. You can visit Money Monday. Type that into the Google search. You'll see a website. You'll see a social media, etc., etc. Follow her, follow her, follow her, follow her, follow her. My goodness me. Right, who have we not heard from? So, Mr. Paul Morrison. What thoughts are going through your mind, sir?
For me, where I think some of the success that I've made has come from is my encouragement to everybody is to write things down. I strongly believe in the biblical text which says write the vision, make it plain. We need to write things down. When I go into my office, I've got things written all over the place, and when I see it, it almost becomes achievable. So that's the first thing. The next thing is surround yourself with good people, and I think people that sometimes they may ruffle your feathers, a little bit, Ozzy. People who will hold you accountable, people who will support you, mentor you. Just surround yourself with good people. Some of the speakers that you've had on the show has been absolutely incredible, and the folks who are listening and watching them, some of them will be inspired. But then you need to then go and create your own plan and get people who can hold you accountable, because there's been so many expensive hobbies out there. There's so many people who have got amazing ideas and they've not been able to monetize it because they just don't know how to do that first step. So surround yourself with people who can help you to turn that idea into a business. And that's the big thing for me. Take one thing away, write it down. Whatever you want your goals, your aspirations, everything, just write it down. And every day, just have a look at that list and say, what can I do today to actually, take some of the things off this list? So write it down. That's my big thing.
Fantastic.
I'll get another round.
I'm not sure why you're shaking your head, Mr. Paul Essien. I'm not sure why. It could only be jealousy. Mr. Paul Essien, please. Take your liberty.
Look, my takeaway.
But don't take liberties.
I'm not going to take liberties.
Okay, good.
My takeaway is something that I speak about a lot, which is problem. We're in and living through an extraordinary time where there's problems everywhere. You've had a rock solid job for 20 years in a career that you studied for. Your job currently isn't that solid. Your industry currently isn't that solid. Entire industries, let alone companies, have fallen off the cliff in the past 6-7 months. I believe that behind every good business, every good industry is a massive problem. And I specialize in identifying problems, creating a solution, evidencing the effectiveness of my solution, and sending an invoice. I need to understand that problem. I need to understand who the customer is of that problem, who the stakeholder is. And if I'm willing to pay the price to understand, to consume as much information about that problem as I can possibly find, especially in an era where my phone is more powerful than the computer that sent man into space. If I'm willing to pay the price to understand that problem, I can find a solution and I can name my price. I was watching the news today. There was a scandal in the UK and the States because somebody got a £200 million contract for PPE, and they just got the contract. They didn't know anything about it. They found a man in Spain who doesn't also know anything about PPE, but he found out how to be compliant with the UK government. He found out how to be compliant with suppliers of PPE. And within 4 weeks of research, he got $28 million in fees for sorting out people. Now, fair enough, it's a scandal now, but he's still been paid. What I'm saying is, in every problem, there is opportunity. And I don't mean to be, I've spoken after Crystal, and she's spoken about being a vessel, and generally she's an inspiration type of person. But for some of us, we want all the money, and we need as much money as we can get. We've got our own problems to solve. We've got our own bills to pay and things like that. And so I still try to talk things like that, and I still imagine that many people, their concerns are the same. So I would say, for me, the main takeaway is pay the price to identify some of the problems that are going on in your community, in your industry, in other businesses, whether they're small problems or big problems. Pay the price to understand them. Pay the price to be able to identify a solution. Find out who the customer is, to target them with your solution. That is really what a business is. Facebook do it to you, Zoom do it to you, McDonald's do it to you, Uber does it to you. You can do the same with an internet connection and with a phone. And I'd advise everyone to start that from there. Thank you.
Hadouken!
I appreciate it.
Shoryuken!
I record that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You know what? There's a lot of love coming in from the chat. Someone's even quoted Paul Morrison. Someone's quoted you here. Look at this. Paul Morrison quote: "Don't worry about your idea getting out there by someone, for it will one day locate you." Any more words of wisdom from us tonight? And that was before you spoke. So look at that. People are listening. People are watching. And that's not my mum. So look at that. And we have here as well. Thank you, Ronaldo. Always a pleasure to hear from you. God bless. And we have another round of applause for Ronaldo. And we have a thank you for Krista. She's not here. She's gone. But we'll forward that thank you on. And then we have thank you, Paul Morrison. Powerful words. Write it down. Always a pleasure to hear from you. You are so wise. God bless you. Look at that. And nothing for Paul. Let's see.
You guys
I don't control the chat. I don't control the chat. I don't control. Someone's even laughing at that fact. Look at that.
There's one thing about Paul Essin, though. Whenever I'm around that man, I grow.
You can't but grow. Like with Paul Essien, if you are talking, you could be talking about food or whatever. Afterwards, you come away, you're a better person for it. This is why I give you such a hard time.
I meant that. I wasn't being flippant. I really meant that.
Yeah. Seriously, literally. Like this is why I keep him around. Keep him around. He's like family. Might as well keep him around. I said that about my wife once. I survived. I heard Del Boy say it. Yeah. I said no, it wasn't not on and only Fools and Horses. It was only Fools and Horses. And they said, how's your wife? I said, oh, she's been around for so long. She's like family. So I thought I'd try it. I live to tell the tale. I won't do it again.
And Mr. Morrison, can I just say to you, sir, that it's always a blessing. It's always nice to see you. And I wish you loads of luck with your job. And I know that you're going to go, and I know you're going to knock it out the box. And I'm just saying that when you do knock it out the box, don't forget us little people. Don't forget us. Okay.
That's right. This is why I give him the first round of applause. See, you can't forget me. And we have another comment here from the audience saying, always good to hear from you, Paul. God bless your good analogies. I'm giving that to Paul Morrison. It doesn't say which. Paul. So. I'm just going to give it to Paul Morrison.
I've got to run, sir.
There we go. Thanks, everyone here from A. Lee. So, look, can I just say, look, there's so much love coming in, and I appreciate every single one of you who have... No, we can't. This is actually none of your business. Someone is saying, I give you permission to get OC back. That's not just someone. That's actually my sibling, my youngest sibling, my sister. She's not to make comments like that. We don't know who that's directed to anyway, so we'll just assume that's for Paul Morrison. But yeah, let's wrap up. It's been a fantastic run. I would like to thank every single one of my guests. Mr. Ronaldo Lawrence, my first ever guest on Tuesday Night Live. Thank you, sir. Here's a round of applause for you. Thank you, sir. Mr. Paul Essien, my second ever interview on Tuesday Night Live. Thank you so much. I give you a dragon punch. And Mr. Paul Morrison, thank you so much for joining me tonight, seeing through the transition from Microsoft to Zoom, and it's just always a pleasure. This will not be the last conversation for us, but it is the last conversation we're having on this show. So thank you all so much. Take care, and we'll see. Well, that's it. This is the last show, so that's it from all of you. So we'll say goodbye to Ronaldo. He's popping off now. Goodbye, Ronaldo. And we'll say goodbye to Mr. Morrison. Goodbye, Paul.
Take care, guys.
Thank you so much. And we'll say goodbye to Mr. Paul Essien as well. He has gone. Guys, what can I say? My friends, the time has come. This is the last show. This is the last one. So all I can say is enjoy. I hope you have enjoyed the journey. I hope you've enjoyed all of the content that we brought you here. Go back and watch the other shows. If you have missed something, if you want to catch up with me, just visit the YouTube channel and you can see it there. But that's it from me. There is no show next week, so I can't announce who it is. I'm so used to just announcing what's coming up next. But what I'll say is thank you all so much for your support. I hope that this has helped you to develop. I want to hear your stories. If you have got a story of how you've watched any of these shows that have helped you in your business, drop something in the comments, comment on this feed, and I will be happy to hear from you. I'll respond to you directly. But have yourselves a great time. Enjoy your business journey, grow your potential, maximize everything that you have, and be the best you that you could be. And I will see you around. I'll always be on these videos, so you can just replay me if you ever feel like you missed me. Not that that will happen, but take care, and we'll see you when I see you. God bless. Take care.